Hello, beautiful souls. This is Unique Alma here again. This is my second video on YouTube. I'm very excited to be back, and I'm gonna be sharing three paranormal stories again today. Just because my friends and family really seem to like this topic too, and wanted me to tell more stories and experiences that we've been through. So, um, I said, okay, I will, because I love sharing that, and that's kind of what I want to do anyway. So today we're gonna be talking about three paranormal experiences that had happened. One with my dad, one with my mom, and one with my mom's uncle. So the first story that I'm gonna be sharing with you, it's gonna be my mom's, and this story has taken place in Mexico, many years ago. My mom was 14, almost 15. She said that she always has had experiences with paranormal stuff ever since she was younger, and still up to date. We've been having, like, now everybody. But anyways, this story is right before she turned 15. I don't know if you guys are familiar, probably are, with Sweet 16 parties and Sweet 15 parties. It's a tradition they do in Mexico now, from where a girl is celebrating becoming a young lady. And so they do this big celebration. You go to church, you confess your sins, and then you have like a big party with your family, and it's very beautiful. If you don't know what it is, I suggest you look up videos on it and see what it is. It's very pretty. But anyways, I'm getting sidetracked now. Um, this story says is about my mom when she would fall asleep at night times in Mexico. Like, I don't know if you guys are familiar with like the house structures in Mexico. They're very different from here. The houses, they're not that strong. They're made of a different material, and especially back then, it was like very easy for a house to fall down. Anyways, there was also rooms in a hallway, and their bathrooms used to be outside of their house. They have to walk outside and go to this little bathroom that was built. Some of them had doors, some of them didn't have doors. The rooms didn't have doors. Like, they would use like blankets or sometimes nothing, you know. Anyways, the house didn't really have that much light either. Um, and my mom would sleep alone in her own room. And she said that the day before she had her Sweet 15 party, um, is when her experience is based on. But anyways, a few months before she had turned 15, she said she would be woken up by the sound of like sandals, like the huaraches. I don't know if you guys know what huaraches is. They're like the Mexican sandals. I have some I should have brought to show you guys. Or actually, give me a sec. Okay, guys, I'm back. So these are the huaraches. I like straight up got my husband's huaraches. Anyways, she said she would be woken up by the sound of this, like, like, that's how they sound, and it would be dragged to like her towards her room from the hallway that I'm telling you that was outside her room. She would always be woken up by that, so she would get really scared, and then she would wake up screaming and run around the little hallway towards my grandparents' room, and wake them up screaming, and always says, the guy from the huaraches, the guy from the huaraches. This went on up till she turned 15. So they would always tell her like, oh, you're dreaming, or whatever, just pray at night so you can sleep comfortable. And all this stuff happened till she was 15. The day before she turned 15, she said she was again in her bedroom getting ready to sleep. She would always be terrified of sleeping because she already knew what was going to happen. So she says that she started hearing the huaraches, the but they would be more like dragging noises. I can't really do it here because it's hard, but she heard the huaraches, to her room. And this time she had woken up, but she had her blanket like over her face, and it was something like this, like see-through. So she you know how you could still kind of like see through. Anyways, she said she decided to like hold the blanket over her face, but this time she wanted to see what it was, She wanted to see if she was able to see something, although she was terrified. And she says that as soon as she heard them stop, like in front of her bed, she went like that, like, well, you can't see me, right? But she like, like when you pretend to be asleep, but then you want to see stuff. She did that, and what she saw was like this monk. I think that's what you call him, a monk. The person that, the religious person that wears the brown robe thing. She says she's seen something that appeared to be a monk, like hovering over her, like kind of like trying to give her a hug. But the little thing is that he didn't have a face. You know, it was just black, like a shadow, like a black shadow where the face is supposed to be, and the robe was going like this, like if it was gonna hug her. And of course, she got super scared. First, she said she couldn't even scream or move because she didn't want to like make any noise because she didn't know if she was actually seeing that, or like if it was gonna notice or something. But as soon as it got closer to her, she closed her eyes. She waited like a few seconds, and she felt like her skin, you know, like when your skin, oh, like what I have now. I don't know if you guys can see it. Uh, when your hairs go up. Yeah, she had the chills. I think that's what it's called, right? She got the chills. I guess she screamed, got up running to my grandparents' room, had told them everything that she saw, like what she heard again that night. And they told her the next day that they were thinking it was her like great grandpa or her grandpa that had like died, and was probably coming to visit her before she turned 15 to like give her a hug and like a happy birthday hug. But and he used to dress like a monk. And my mom was like, you know, like saying, well, if it was like him, like why did I feel scared, you know? Because supposedly when you feel scared, it's because it's something negative or bad. So she told him that. But after her 15th birthday, she said she never heard the sound of the shoes anymore, and she didn't see the monk anymore. So that was her experience, but she always tells it, and she always says she remembers it like it was yesterday, and that she still terrifies her, like what she's seen. And she had nightmares for like a lot of like months afterwards. She couldn't sleep alone. Like she does have a sister and a brother. They had like different rooms too, and she said that she had to sleep with them, you know. And anyways, that was my mom's story, her experience. The next one, it's my dad's experience, and this is taking place in Mexico as well when he was also young. I don't recall what age he was, maybe like 13, 15, or around that age too. My dad, he had like 6 or 7 siblings. He has had, well, it's because one of my uncles has passed, so there used to be 7 of them back then, okay? Anyways, they have family down in a little town that's very beautiful. It's very small. It's also like a Legends place, and it's creepy too because it's still like from the past. You know, there were rock streets and stuff. It's called Sayula. Hola familia de Sayula, si están viendo tu video, saludos. And anyways, he said that they went to go visit them down in Sayula, and they would go almost all the time. But he said there was one particular time that he remembers going, and they used to sleep on the ground, the kids. Like they would put a blanket on the floor and sleep there like all together. He said that he was already laying down, they were getting ready to go to sleep. He covers himself with the blanket. He used to love to sleep with the blanket over his head, he said. So he was sleeping with his blanket, like it was over his face, and when he noticed like the blanket was slowly going down, you know, they were pulling the blanket from his feet. He woke up to that, to the thing, but he didn't open his eyes because he automatically assumed it was either one of his cousins playing a prank or one of his uncles trying to scare him. It was already like past midnight, so he was like, huh, it's like, I'm gonna get them back. Like, they're not gonna scare me. I'm gonna be the one scaring them, you know? So he said he waited, he kept pulling the blanket back up to his face and pretending to be asleep and snoring. And then when one of the times when they started pulling the blanket down, he said that he waited for the blanket to be down from his face, and when it finally like went down, that he was like, rah, you know, like to scare. He was like, ah, to scare whoever was pranking him. But when he did that, he noticed that there was nobody around. It was just him, and the kids were already asleep. His brothers, his cousins, and everybody was asleep. It was dark. There was nobody awake. Everybody was like really sleeping. So he got really scared, thinking like who was pulling the blanket, So he he woke up my uncle and like the kids around him and like told him what happened, and of course they didn't believe him, but he woke up my grandparents and like told them what happened, and they believed him, but they also told him that maybe his sins, because if you have a lot of sins, especially back then, supposedly you could like be subjected to evil stuff, and they could scare you easily, and or even if parents would tell you like, oh, I hope you see La Llorona or whatever, would that you would see her, or say like the devil and stuff, like you would see something. So he got scared, and there's something else that happened during the same days that was another experience there. I might just tell you guys because it's not that long, and it's connected to Sayula. He says that another day that he was there too. It was nighttime as well. They were already sleeping when all of a sudden he like got the urge to wake up. Like he woke up in the middle of the night and he seen like a big black dog in the door. And let me remind you, houses over there, especially back then, did not have doors. It was like just a door frame, and you either put a curtain or it didn't have curtain. Theirs had a curtain. My aunt's house where they were staying had a curtain, but it was like a see-through curtain as well, because their curtains are really thin, like this, and it was white, so you could clearly see what was over. When he saw a big dog behind the curtain, it was a big black German Shepherd that he described it as, but it was like firmly like staring at them, like at him, and was like growling, and his eyes were very like shining, he couldn't see, but they were like bright shining, and he was growling and staring at him. So he said, like, of course he had my uncle next to him, he pinched him to wake up, and so my uncle woke up, and my uncle, the first thing he saw was the dog as well. So they both were looking at this dog and they were scared, and they assumed like it was a devil because they didn't have any dogs. There was no dogs, especially for that time, and the way the dog was looking at them. So they closed their eyes and started praying, and when they like started praying, they turned to see if the dog was still there, and of course it wasn't there anymore. The dog was gone. They got scared. They woke up my grandma and my grandpa and like my aunt and stuff, and they checked outside like around their place, and there was no dogs. There was not even signs of like prints. And again, they summed it up to being their sins and to pray, so they could go to sleep. And so they did. They prayed and went back to sleep, and that's pretty much it on his experience. And in Sayula, like when he was younger, that was like one of the first experiences paranormal that he had, besides other ones too that he has told when he was younger. But I will tell you that's in the next video. Anyways, that was my dad's experience. I'm gonna try to get my mom and then my dad to tell you guys some of their experiences in my next videos probably to come. But anyways, the third story, paranormal story time that I'm gonna tell you guys, it's it has to do with La Llorona. I don't know if some of you might not know who she is, but by now I think almost everybody knows who La Llorona is, the weeping woman. And her legend, of course, that she had drowned her two kids because her husband was unfaithful, and she did it as a revenge, but then she regretted it right afterwards and she drowned herself. There's different versions, but this is the version I know. She drowned herself, but then when she got to the kingdom of God, he didn't permit her to come inside because of the big offense and sin she had committed. And the only way she could possibly enter heaven was to find her kids in earth, their remains, and since she had dumped them in the river, it's kind of impossible to find them. So then she spends for eternity, she's been roaming the earth, or that's how it's been told, and hasn't found them. So you can hear her weeping and screaming for her children in the skies, and you see her or her footprints, which are huge, they're said, and that's another story time that I might tell you. But they're huge prints for her feet, and she can't find them, and she screams like, "Oh, where are my children?" And supposedly, like, anyways, I'm getting sidetracked with the legend. I'll tell you guys in another video her legend, and I'll tell you the experience. This has to do with my mom's uncle, I believe, or at least someone in her family. I'm pretty sure it could be my dad's because it's been a while, but I'm pretty sure it's my mom's side. This uncle used to drink a lot. He was like an alcoholic back then, in those times again in Mexico, like I said. he would always go out almost every night drinking with his friends and would get really, really drunk, and to the point where he couldn't even like walk good. He would be walking like super wobbly and some falling over and stuff like that. But anyways, this uncle one particular night got super drunk with one of his friends, and he didn't want to go home right away, but his friend was already telling him, let's go home because it's night, I'm tired, and whatever. My uncle said, you could leave, like you could leave, I'll stay, and I'll walk home. So the friend was like, you know what, okay, like your call. So the friend leaves, and my mom's uncle is by himself walking in the streets of Mexico, which by that time it was very late, nobody was outside anymore. Everybody was asleep in their houses, or if they were not asleep, they were not outside. The streets were lonely. So he says, because he tells his experience, he doesn't remember detail by detail because obviously he was really, really drunk. He can't remember everything. But what he does remember is walking and bumping into this beautiful woman that was like on the other side of the corner of the street, was making a turn from outside, like from outside these buildings. There was two buildings and she was coming out of them. And he was right here. So he seen her, and my uncle, being really drunk and being really, really flirty, he started saying, like, hey, mamacita, like, what are you doing here alone? Like, do you need somebody to go home with you? And apparently this woman, she was very beautiful. She turned and looked at him and said, yeah, if you want. Like, well, I don't know word by word, but she agreed. And she told him, yes, let's go. So he walked to her, and then they started walking together for a little bit, he said. But of course, he was drunk. He was wobbling all over the place. So he, like, grabbed onto her. Like, he hugged her. So grabbed onto her shoulder. And she grabbed him from, like, the waist. And she was, like, walking with them. And they were walking together. He said for a little bit. He was talking to her, trying to make conversation. But he said that that's when he started getting, like, an eerie feeling because she wasn't replying. He was just walking with them. And the more he was walking with her, the more he would feel scared. He started feeling cold chills, and his legs were getting wobbly, and his drunkenness was starting to like fade a little bit and go down. When all of a sudden he lost track of time, and he lost track of like even his senses, because he said he never noticed when he felt that he wasn't touching the floor anymore. So he felt his legs moving like this slowly, but he felt them very, very like, like heavy, and he didn't feel the floor. So he sorry, I have like something on my throat. And he felt very like uneasy, so he opened his eyes like completely good and tried to focus. And when he looked down, he noticed that they were not on the floor anymore. They were already like maybe like 8 feet or 10 feet off the ground. He still felt her hand holding him. So when he looked down and saw her hand, she was literally only holding him with the same hand she had on his waist, but her hand now looked like skeleton hands, like very skeletal and long, and very pale and wrinkly. He said that they looked ugly. So then obviously he almost fainted. He said he got really scared, and he automatically assumed it was, La Llorona, because he's heard legends and experiences of people seeing her and describing her, and she fit the profile very perfectly, but he wasn't gonna go turn and look at her face. So what he did was close his eyes, and he started praying. Like, he started praying out loud, but like not super like loud, like, oh, our Father who art, he was like, our Father who art in heaven. And he started praying like a lot, where he suddenly felt like her let go and him falling. He fell and hit the ground. So when he fell, hit the ground, he did have bruises and scratches. He got up, and he didn't even look up anymore. He just heard the wind, like screaming, the wind. He wasn't sure if it was the wind or it was her, but he felt the wind. So he got up and booked it. He ran. He ran back home and told everybody what happened. He wasn't even drunk anymore. He told his experience, and everybody in Mexico, of course, they did believe him, because that was something that you would see and you would believe, because there was a lot of encounters and stories. And like I said, back then, like, it was easier to see stuff. And every family reunion, whenever they would tell their experiences, their scary stories, he would always bring that up. My mom says, and he remembers it as it was yesterday. And after that day, he didn't go out drinking anymore. He didn't get wasted anymore. He changed. He was very terrified of it, and he was very thankful that he noticed and started praying, and that, according to him, God saved him. So after that, he was a changed man. He didn't drink anymore. So that was his experience. That was his story time. And that's it for my 3 paranormal stories. I hope you guys liked it and enjoy it. I'm planning to make an email where you guys can send me your paranormal stories and your experiences or your families. And if it's okay with you, I want to share them on YouTube so people can know your experience, and I don't know, share theirs as well. And let me know, please, if you would like that. Comment down below. And also, please give it a like and subscribe to my channel and share, or whatever. I really appreciate the support from all my family and friends that have been giving me and telling me to make more videos. I appreciate you guys. And this is it for this video. I hope to see you in the next one. Bye now.